It
Okay,
says we are
we are
live.
live. We are
We are
live.
live.
James,
We've
so
been
good to
live for a
see you.
while. So good to see you as well.
Yeah, for a very long time we've been
For a
live.
very long time now. Friends for a long time now.
Absolutely. And I'm so happy to be able to talk with you and chat and kind of like
Likewise.
and reveal to the public what we've been working on, what is coming up, and to talk about GongaVision. GongaVision, which
GongaVision.
is, yes, is a very special kind of a festival, a Web-a-Thon festival that will be broadcast primarily from India, from Varanasi, India,
Yes,
along the banks of the Ganga or the Ganges River.
that sacred
And
temple of the city.
exactly, exactly. And I'm real pleased to be able to talk with you about it because you, of course, are going to be one of the hosts of GongaVision, and I specifically wanted you to be uh, uh, involved in one of the hosts because you spent time here in Varanasi, so you
Yes,
know
I
it
have. It
and
was
are
quite a
very
remarkable
intimate.
experience.
Exactly, and you're very, very intimate with the Holy River and
Yes,
kind of
I certainly
commune.
was.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
is. I don't know if I or anyone else will ever find a place like Varanasi. A city of over 500,000 souls that operates like a temple. Starting
Wow.
before the rising of the sun, people are on the banks of the Ganges making offerings and libations, engaging in pujas, chanting mantras, and meditating. The entire city goes quiet, and it feels like you're in the temple. Um,
Yes.
Anywhere in the city you go, it's a remarkable place. I love Varanasi.
Yeah, it's extraordinary because I'm of course living here right now, so I'm broadcasting my portion from Varanasi, and it's early in the morning, about 6 in the morning, and already people are out uh, doing their devotions. It's like if you
Hmm.
step out on the roof before the sun rise, you already see people out doing their devotions, and you hear chanting, and there's chanting and singing, and sometimes you hear like drumming and things, and it's just sort of something that is ongoing. So the the place is extraordinarily sacred, and to live here is to be immersed, is to be like fully immersed in devotion and sacredness, like almost like 24/7. And so
Yeah.
it's like it's fueled spiritually by the river, by the river, and the river as a goddess. It's like Mother Ganga. And if you look in the right hand corner of this broadcast, you see an image of
There she is.
of Ganga. Ah, yes, the goddess of the rivers. So Ganga Vision.
Ganga Vision.
Yes, it um, I had the idea to put together a festival, a celebration
Hmm.
of the sacredness of the river, and in support of, and to raise funds for and awareness of a local grassroots charity that we're establishing as an NGO, a non-governmental organization called
Yes.
Meals on the Ganges, like Meals on the Ganges, and me and a number of local people kind of established it as a
Hmm.
response to the hunger and the stress and the distress that has occurred since the COVID pandemic, and so many tourists are no longer here. So it cut down on the pilgrimages, uh, and the tourism, which is the lifeblood of the city. So you have this holy city that is in need, facing hunger, facing distress and such. So we just put together meals on the Ganges as a way of responding, way of addressing need and bringing food and some very basic provisions, and even in some cases medicine and such, to
Mm-hmm.
individuals, individuals in need. And we focus on all poor people. It's like regardless of caste and all of that. But uh, we pay particular attention to the holy people, to the sadhus, and the renunciates and the holy men that live along the river, who live along the
Yes.
Ghats. And these are the ones traditionally for thousands of years they would carry their begging bowls, and they took a vow of poverty and such. And so they often, they depended upon this flow of pilgrims and such. And since that dried up, it's like meals on the Ganges is kind of in our own way has stepped up
Mm-hmm.
to try to provide that and to fill the
Definitely.
gaps. So far we've distributed over 5,000 meals. So
That's
we've
wonderful.
fed over 5,000 people, hungry people. And so GongaVision is a way of like bringing attention. We want to bring attention and create the support and to allow Meals on the Ganges to continue its work, to continue to be of service to the community in this, this very holy, very special community, because it's like the people here, the function here, the sadhus, the holy men, the very, very intensely devotional reality here is very much a world treasure. You
Yes, it
see,
is.
this is a treasure for the planet, and so we get to do sacred work in terms of helping to preserve and to maintain this beacon, this
Mm-hmm.
beacon of sacredness and devotion. Keep that flame, that eternal flame, happening. Each in our own way. We bring our own talents.
Yes.
Yeah, we bring our own talents and skills, and we bear witness, and we serve. We physically serve and feed the hungry, and so it's been extraordinary.
It's funny. You mentioned, of course, the pilgrims and the tourists, and Varanasi has been taking pilgrims for millennia, and tourists probably for at least a couple of centuries. But the
Yes.
site, the city is so sacred that while you're there, um, during normal times, even though there are many tourists there, I wasn't a tourist, I was more of a pilgrim, but the tourists aren't really that noticeable. They're just part of the
Hmm.
backdrop that the city absorbs because the
Yeah.
city is so centered on devotion, so centered on worship, so centered on the most beautiful things that you encounter just walking down the street. A walk down the street in Varanasi can transform your life very easily. And
Yes.
to think, I never would have thought. I think many people haven't thought, even if they've been to Varanasi. Well, what would Varanasi be without the pilgrims and without the tourists if there was
Hmm.
no one there to help the sadhus and to provide sustenance for the people? Because there is that single pointed focus on devotion that is so strong that you don't think about that so much. And it's been really beautiful from here
Hmm.
watching you start meals on the Ganges, watching you begin to provide meals for the sadhus, even before the pandemic got very serious in India. Because, at the beginning, India didn't have a real problem with the pandemic. That really hit later.
Hmm.
Um, and, to watch it grow from here, you're feeding hundreds of people on the banks of the Ganges to really switching gears and establishing a farm and
Yes.
providing fresh vegetables as well as cooked meals and medicine
Mhm.
supplies. And I've forgotten the name of the cloth that the sadhus wear, but you're also
Oh yeah,
providing
the
those,
gumsha, the
the
gumsha. They
gumsha.
wear it's very, very versatile. You can wrap it around your head, or you can wear it around your shoulder, or you can even use it as a kind of a blanket too to keep heat in. So we were distributing those to the people and to the sadhus, and yeah, very, very much appreciated by
It's a very
folks.
beautiful thing. And it's so important in Varanasi that people be provided with sustenance through the charity, through the giving, through the generosity of others.
Hmm.
It really completes the cycle in Varanasi. That's what Varanasi is about. It's about that single pointed focus and people being able to make those offerings in order to allow that devotion and that spiritual growth to happen for that huge community of people living on the banks of the Ganges.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. So it really is. It really is an honor to be of service in this way. And one of the things I can tell you, because you can hear what I'm saying here, is
Yes,
that even certain individuals who have helped and donated with meals on the Ganges have even noticed like transformation in their own life.
no doubt.
That they've noticed like uh, certain kinds of blessings sort of open up for them, even in unexpected ways. But it's, it's one of those things that, it's like people experience, even as I say this, I know that you can't like, empirically prove it one way or another, but I'm just saying what people have reported to me, that things, that these kinds of blessings have occurred with their involvement, because it's like they are sort of grafted into the vibe, or it's like the flow of it envelops them as well. And I like to think that there's some, it's part of the sacredness and the magic of the very river itself. you know and one of the things I like to say is like, I like to propose that if the Ganga were to overflow into cyberspace, what might that look like? And I like to think that it's like, GongaVision, that uh, stepping into the flow of the service, amplifying the blessing, like amplifying it to the world. And so,
And let's not forget the beauty. The
oh,
Ganges is
it's
so beautiful.
oh,
Um,
yeah, it's extraordinarily beautiful. And I wanted to um, take a moment, take a couple of minutes here and see if I can't cue up a little informational commercial about GongaVision. And
okay.
then on the other side of it, we can continue. And then I know that you've got some very amazing things to kind of share
Oh,
about Varanasi and the Ganga and such. And so we'll just kick it and continue along this vein. But here, let me see if I can't share this little bit here.
sure.
Let's see. Uh, River were to overflow into cyberspace, what might it look like? The GangaVision Festival Web-a-Thon. Ah,
Very nice.
yes, yes. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to kind of help people get some imagery of the vibe and the spirit of what we're doing here. And let's see, and in a little bit, I've got a couple more to share, but I wanted you to kind of I want to inform the people more about what GongaVision is about. Okay, on the 13th of November, 12 o'clock West Coast time, we will be doing a 7-hour Web-a-Thon which is GongaVision, which will include musicians, spoken word artists, various performers. And these performers will range from like Western musicians to East Indian classical musicians. Ah, I hear a little voice.
Yes, that's what I noticed.
Yeah, okay. East Indian classical musicians, um, you know, folk, Western folk musicians. So it's going to be like this blending of East and West musical expression and performance. So it's going to be like this almost this mixture, this almost kaleidoscopic cultural experience. East and West, like the sitars and the flutes and the guitars and performers, singers. We've got devotional singers and performance artists as well, spoken word artists involved. So it's going to be like this 7-hour experience that it's like something I would like. It's like people can kind of like tune in at the beginning and then kind of take the ride.
Yes.
Almost as if you were floating down the Ganga River itself. And these fantastic temples of creative expression are moving past. You see.
You are taking me back, Michael.
I knew it. Yeah, so it's going to be like this experience that you can kind of float along and partake. So we want it to be GongaVision itself to be like visiting the Holy River. You see, we want the experience itself to be a devotion, a pilgrimage. Think in terms of a cyber pilgrimage that comes to you. It's like the gift of the Ganga reaches you.
I can almost smell the chai and feel the silk. My goodness.
Yes, exactly. And so it's I want it to be that meaningful. You see, I want it to be that meaningful for people. And of course it gives this opportunity for offerings, for devotion, for involvement. And that's where like the meals on the Ganges portion comes in. You make your contribution, and essentially you are part of it. You're part of the community. You're part of this sacred circuitry, if you will, this circle, this current. So on the deeper level, this is what I want it to mean for people. That
Yeah.
GangaVision is something that is encompassing and enveloping in the sacred. We want it to be a truly holy experience when people like participate.
much like watching the sunrise on the Ganges.
Precisely, precisely, which is actually happening right now, right out the
Oh, wow, my goodness.
door. Oh yes, yeah, yeah. And I know it's evening where you are,
The
but
sun
yeah. So
rising on Ganges is so lovely, it can genuinely take one's breath away.
precisely, precisely. It's because in the river valley here, there's like the atmosphere. There's always this kind of like this etheric haze sort of happening, which gives the whole environment a kind of aura, and it's otherworldly. There's a certain otherworldly kind of sense. It's almost like, I mean, for me, it's kind of like waking up in heaven every day. And people might say, "Oh my God, Michael, it couldn't be like that." And I'm saying, I'm testifying. You've been
You
here.
know,
I'm testifying
there
it's
are
true.
7 sacred cities in India, and Varanasi is the most sacred of the 7 for a reason.
Yes.
And it really is encapsulated by what you described. Yes, Varanasi is all of that. Varanasi
Hmm.
is going to give you experiences just being in Varanasi, just witnessing the ceremonies, just walking down the street that you're not going to get in other places that are really of the very fabric of what pilgrimage and sacred ceremony and sacred spiritual practice are about. That's what the city has been about for, if the stories are correct, for 7,000 years.
Yes.
You know, Varanasi was supposed to have been founded by Shiva when he had an argument with Brahma, who had many heads, and Shiva was so angry he cut off one of his heads. And it said that when he got to the place where Varanasi is, Brahma himself made sure that his head dropped in that place and sunk into the earth. And from that point, the city was born.
Hmm.
And, my first experience of the Ganges was actually not in Varanasi. It was upriver at Calcutta. It was right outside the Ghats where Ramakrishna had built his temple to the holy goddess. And of
Hmm.
course, the holy goddess he built it to was the Ganga or Kali. There is, as you know, much of an interweaving between
Certainly.
these
Certainly.
sacred beings, these sacred archetypes, because unbeknownst to a lot of people, Hinduism really isn't a polytheistic religion. You have different personalities of a single godhead.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the things that has made Hinduism so strong. That's why Gautama Buddha founded Buddhism right in Deer Park,
Yes.
just outside of Varanasi, at Sarnath,
There you
where he
go.
gave his first sermon, the setting into motion of the wheel of Dharma. That's why not only the Hindus and the Buddhists, but the Sikhs and the Jains and Islam also consider this to be a sacred city. One of the reasons why there's a flourishing community of Sufis there now. Um,
Hmm.
it was known as the giver of liberation. If you die in Varanasi, it was said that you would immediately enter the sacred realm of Shiva and be interwoven with him. Um, yeah, it's it's just I don't know. And the smells.
Yes.
There's incense burning in Varanasi all the time.
Yes.
Along with the smells of the most incredible food, there is wonderful food in Varanasi.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The street food here and the food that's prepared is really just it's really quite wonderful. There's it's one of these unique experiences. It's hard to really describe the vividness of
Mhm.
just walking down the street or taking a little stroll in Varanasi. It's like the colors and the imagery and the smells and the intensity of devotion. It's just so woven into regular living that just simply walking to the store to buy some toothpaste is like a pilgrimage. It's,
It can be.
yeah, literally,
As
yeah.
as unusual as that sounds, it can be.
Hmm.
Taking a short trip by boat on the river can be life
Yeah.
changing.
Yes.
The power of the ceremonies has intensified, I think, because they've been done in that spot for so long, every single day. that they
Yes.
really do take you away. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a whole story from the Mahabharata, for instance,
Uh-huh.
about during one of the great wars, I think it was the Parvas, they had killed their brothers. And
Hmm.
of course, this is a huge, huge sin. And sin might be the wrong word, but it was a wrongdoing that had to be accounted for. And they
Hmm.
went to Varanasi to account for it because the purity of Varanasi allowed them to enter into sacred states and to purify that sin and to rectify it. Um, it was the holy city. People have heard of the cities, the cities and city yoga, the great powers,
Uh-huh.
those who
Yes.
achieve such realization that they are able to perform miracles. And
Exactly.
that whole tradition sprouted up out of Varanasi. The greatest saints of that tradition were right there in Varanasi. Kabir, Tulsidas, Sri Tealug, uh, Baba Kirana, Mahayogi.
Uh-huh.
There's so many people that have
Uh-huh.
nurtured themselves and been nourished in Varanasi and been so transformed that they were then able to walk into the world and give the most amazing spiritual gifts, not just in India, but beyond. I mean, as we
Yes.
know, the influence of India. Um,
Oh,
when
oh,
Alexander the Great invaded India, his goal was to get to the banks of the Ganges.
yes. Exactly. Exactly. It's like as a funny, interesting aside. Even when I call my mother, and I call her up, and she said, "Michael, I was just getting ready to go do my yoga." And I said, "Well, Mom, yoga was actually invented in this neighborhood."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's right down the street. That's where they invented the yoga. And she said, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, I know."
And then yeah,
But it's
sometimes I
so
wonder, do
amazing.
people really know? Because it isn't just that yoga came from India. It's that
Yeah.
yoga actually sprung out of Varanasi. The entire
Yes.
tradition was really, that was the womb that developed it. I wasn't
Precisely.
even going to touch on the yoga part because there's so much there. The story is
Uh-huh.
so rich. Just about
Hmm.
every form of yoga, even the newer forms, has sprouted out of Varanasi. The Agni yoga. I guess it was popular 20 years ago, but maybe isn't so. It's a fire
Uh-huh.
yoga that
Uh-huh.
sprung out of the Ganges. Well, not out.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's just the idea is to give people an impression of
Yes.
what we're dipping into here. It's like GongaVision is a bit more than like just a quote Web-a-Thon thing or a cyber event. It's like this opportunity, this portal to graft onto something so ancient and meaningful, to become part of the story, to become part of a great narrative, to plug into a vibe that has gone, that is transcendent.
Yes.
You see, and so it's like this. There's a spirit behind this. Um,
Very much so.
yeah, 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 exactly. And so, which is so exciting for me. It's like sometimes it's even hard to fathom, you know, what the meaning, like the fullness of the meaning of what we're doing. So it's very easy to get so enraptured by the whole thing.
Deb, I wasn't planning to mention this, but I'm thinking that maybe I should, because for something like GongaVision, one might think, well, maybe we shouldn't talk about the gas. But as we're talking about
Yeah.
this, it's like, all right, well, why shouldn't we speak of the gas? Because that is the essence of the transcendence. People don't understand. It's like, all right, well, this is the city of the dead. People come here to be cremated and put into the river. That must be morbid. No, if you've read near-death experiences,
Hmm.
where there is an experience of the light and a transcendence. and a moving from one level into the next, a communion with the divine, with God, however you want, with spirit, however you define that. What you see on the banks of the Ganges as this happened is that happening on a mass level. It's not frightening. It's not
Yeah.
morbid. It is an experience of transit. It is
Yes.
the ultimate transit. Of course, I'm a
Yes.
Scorpio, but I think in general for everyone that
It is true. It is true. It is true that, of course, when there's certain gats, where the burning gats, where they cremate the dead there, and it's an intensely sacred place. And you're
yes,
correct. It's not morbid, and you are hit with transcendence, the ultimate. Uh, Merging with the all and the whole, and the releasing of uh, the karma, the accumulated karma from many lifetimes, and it's just ongoing. So it's an extraordinary, almost unexplainable celebration. There's a soul celebration, a soul
yes.
level celebration aura around it, and so it's such a it's such an amazing holy place that it's you don't it's rare, you don't really see an equivalent. I've been around the world, and as of you, I've never encountered like an equivalent, a city,
There's nothing like Varanasi.
you know,
And
and
then we haven't even touched on the music and the poetry. Oh my
oh yeah,
goodness, there's so
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. The famous sitar player Ravi Shankar was born here in Varanasi.
Right in that neck of the
About
woods, along with so many others.
exactly, about 101 years ago. He was born here in Varanasi. Yeah, and brought the
The oldest
sitar to India.
figurines they've
World.
discovered in the area of Varanasi in archaeological digs have been
Mhm.
figurines of musicians playing music.
Yes,
The
yes,
tradition is that established there and that integral to what
yes,
Varanasi is about.
precisely. And in GongaVision, we will be showcasing, presenting um, Indian musicians of Varanasi playing the sitar. I mean, just extraordinarily powerful event. It's like they're playing the sitar, the wooden flute, the tabla, and doing devotional singing. And these are the musicians that perform in the temples along the Ghats. So it's like, this is I'll say it like this: it's the real deal, folks. This is the real. You're getting the true grassroots expression. It's all.
It's not like American garage bands, guys. It's just not. It's nothing like it. You know,
Not that there's
I
anything
told
wrong
you
with
not that
that.
there's anything wrong with that, but I remember I was in my hotel on the banks of the Ganges. This was a hostel. It was ages ago, but all of a sudden I heard the most exquisite music, and it was actually sunset, not sunrise when I heard this music.
Mhm.
And I could not resist it. It was like listening to Pied Piper. I could not resist it. I had to
Yeah,
find where this music was.
yeah.
And as you know, the streets can become very twisted and difficult to navigate as you're going into some of the maze-like neighborhoods. And it took me a half hour with people guiding me. Oh no, it's this way.
Yeah.
Before I got to the Temple of Hanuman, where the musicians were playing, and
Uh-huh.
I could not believe that this was just sort of a spontaneous celebration. It
Yeah,
wasn't it wasn't a big performance or anything.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's
the
like every
musicians were
day.
exquisite.
Yeah, it's like every day you're apt to encounter that. This is just expression. And what's really interesting here is that even as the tourism, especially Western tourism, is kind of dried up, and it's like and even some tourism from India within India itself has lessened. The cultural and devotional expression here, it continues to happen, and there's something perhaps even more pure and sacred about it, because it's just like Varanasi being Varanasi, because it's Varanasi. It's because it's, and it's a city with three names like Kashi, Benares, and Varanasi. So it's being its ancient true self now that this is a special, it's a special time.
Everyday run-of-the-mill celestial experience.
Yeah.
Just common everyday sacredness.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, it's funny because it's like, I'm supposed that people listening in on us are probably scratching their head and saying, oh no place can be like that.
Yeah, it is.
No place
even really, we're just giving you a taste. It is so much more explicit than we can put into words, as any type of spiritual experience is. And being in Varanasi is a genuine spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be that for everyone who goes there.
Yeah, exactly. I want to take another minute or so. I want to show another video that kind of depicts the spirit, the spirit of what we're doing. Again it'll be on the 13th of November. 7 hours of bliss and performance and richness and power. So anyway, I want to show this little video and give the people kind of more impressions about it. Let's see. Artists and more, much more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Are you ready for GongaVision? GongaVision is a powerful gathering. Let's start it again. I want to. 4, 3, 2, 1. Are you ready for GongaVision? GongaVision is a powerful gathering of performers, spiritual presenters, spoken word artists, and more, much more. A 7 hours. A historical event in support of meals on the Ganges. A part of it where thousands are thousands. GongaVision is a transformative, life-changing, magical event. There will be many surprises, but this can only work with your help. It is time to use your power. You bring the magic of GongaVision. Let GongaVision be the beginning of an era of full, open-hearted engagement. Now. Whoops. You're unmute.
I
Yeah.
love the snippets of the ceremonies. They were beautiful.
Oh yes, yes. I took those. I videoed those myself. So I was, just this is something that happens every day.
Every day.
Actually, twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, they do this extraordinary ceremony to give thanks to the river, to honor and give devotional gratitude to the river, and in its sacredness, and
And it should
but
also be mentioned that in addition to those two, when people of Renasi go home, they frequently go home to meditate, to worship, to celebrate, to engage in
yes,
ecstatic dance, to engage in
yes,
the making of music, or listening to music, or breaking bread, feasting for spirit, feasting with spirit, feasting with their neighbors and their
yes,
communities and friends. It's the most, and that's just Renasi.
yeah, exactly, and so it's like GongaVision itself is like it's like this extension of the gift. It's like this opportunity, this portal of experience. It's like this opportunity to become a participant, to be enveloped, and it's like, if you can think of it as kind of like uh, a cyber experience, an opportunity to be able to go to the banks and bathe in the Ganga itself. So it's like this extension, this projection, this opportunity for the envelopment into its stream, into its currents. You see, and that's the idea. So it's like I'm so grateful. It's like so many people have come forward to offer their creativity, their time, their talent, their technical ability to kind of put this together, and just out of sheer service, sheer hearing the call. Yeah, you see, that's kind of like you know the power of the Ganga, that sacred, that holy flow that's in play. And um,
And I,
so
I know
I'm
you
just
can be kind of, Dove can be kind of shy about these things every now and then, but he comes from a very illustrious family. The Narayan family in India has been sponsoring cultural events, musicians, entire schools of music, sacred dance, sacred theater, and spiritual traditions, um, cross um, crossed religiously. There have been great Sikh musicians. In fact, the Maharaj Pradhu Narayan Singh, who was obviously Sikh, he gave court patronage to the original Akbar Ali, to Waris Ali, to
hmm,
Nizar Khan. Um, he was the man, or I think it was his forebear, who gave refuge and a sponsorship to one of the greatest Sikh poets. I don't have his name here right now, but his poetry is actually in the sacred texts of the Sikhs. He was very highly regarded by the Sufis as well. Um, and that's another very unique thing about Varanasi. I mean, where else do you get not only cross pollination between religions that can have very strong opinions about things?
mhm.
And particularly, Islam and Hinduism and Sikhs and the Buddhists. They can be very staunch, but in Varanasi there is this spirit of transcending difference and of influence and of exchange. of spiritual wisdom, of musical beauty, of the beauty of the dance and the theater, and of course of that remarkable place.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. This is kind of like out of that same tradition, that same vein, that same current. It's like this extraordinary East-West, very rich cross-cultural mix of expression that's happening. That's happening here. That GongaVision represents and embodies, and it's like even to the degree that I maybe consciously or unconsciously contribute, continuing like a family or a lineage kind of tradition here. It's like uh, that's just adds to like the sense of rightness, extraordinary sense of kind of divine appointment, if you will. Yeah.
This this is going to be an amazing event, Dove, to give people a taste of Renasi, to give people a
Yeah.
taste of the music and the poetry, to give people
Hmm.
the opportunity all around the world to participate in some of the ceremonies. Um,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also, as you know, interwoven in all of that, and equally as important to all of that, is service, is being able
Precisely.
to help those who have devoted their life to spiritual growth. And
Hmm.
although you haven't mentioned this, I'm going to mention it. You're not just helping the sadhus on the banks. There are, Varanasi is the type of city that's going to come together and help their community. They're going to take care of people in their community. But there are people in Varanasi now, they're refugees that have fled the fighting in Burma. There are refugees from other parts of Central Asia, and they aren't necessarily a part of that container of exchange. And you've adopted some of those families,
Hmm.
and you're basically feeding people who would have no food otherwise. You're making food and giving it to them every single day so that they survive this pandemic. And at this point,
Hmm.
we don't like to talk about it. I won't even bring it up, but we're not exactly sure when it's going to end. And that's such a beautiful gift, Doug, that you've done.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful that you are giving us the opportunity to participate in that, to
Yeah.
experience that, to help
Well, it's
from far away.
hmm yeah, it's really my privilege to be able to, and so even in this in you know the notes of this broadcast, we're going to be giving um, links that will give people the opportunity to contribute. Okay, and more information and such about GongaVision, how to, and so everybody will know how to participate live as it's happening, certainly on the 13th of November. But uh, we are accepting support, accepting donations and such now and up until that time as well. So just everybody kind of stay tuned,
Stay
stay engaged.
tuned.
There's going to be much more, and we will of course be chatting again about all of this very soon as well.
Know that you
So
are holy and participate.
yeah, exactly. So I want to thank you again, James.
Thank you,
Namaste,
sir. Thank you
namaskar.
for allowing me to participate in this beautiful event.
Yeah, and I thank all the people that are watching and participating as well. It's Michael Dove and James Hendricks signing off. Until next time.
Until next time,
Namaste. Yeah. Bye
namaste.
bye.